Gonna get started in just a minute here. All right, we're gonna get started here.
No more heroes, it's hero the kill. You catch on nobody but yourself. Nothing less to do.
Travis, it's kill or be killed.
Appreciate you guys waiting through that starting soon screen. If you end up having to be new here, either through watching a YouTube VOD later or dropping in at some point during a Twitch chat, every Monday we do a mental health discussion, and it's about different concepts. Sometimes they relate to video games, sometimes they don't. Sometimes relating to movies, comic books, different life experiences. And we do this every Monday. And of course, like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we discuss gaming news as well as playing through whatever game we happen to be playing through at the time. And today is going to be no different. Today is going to be the topic of escapism in video games. Mainly because there's so many people who've talked about the concept of escapism in video games, but it almost always turns into the same discussion based around gaming addiction, gaming too much for too many hours, and almost always talks about the negative connotations that comes along with escapism, but never really any of the positives. It's almost kind of like they're brushed under the rug, or many more people are worried so much more about the negative experiences rather than the positives. Because don't get me wrong, the concept of gaming addiction is very valid and does exist, and there are a lot of people who suffer from it, and it is very concerning to have somebody who is spending almost all their time in a virtual world and not living in the moment, not doing anything productive in the real one. But also, I think it's too many people to neglect that they do in times need a break. They do in times need a distraction from the current world that we live in, especially in today's socio-economical climate with everything going on, especially if you live in the US. But I think, what's the word for it? Playing through a good video game or having a positive experience with a video game can be a lot like reading a book, watching a movie, or playing music, listening to music, because you have such an intimate experience with the source material, and it can do a lot of great things for you. Like, for example, one of the movies Encanto, which is one of like the latest big, well, what's the word for it? It was a banger movie. It was a great movie, wonderful movie. It was beautiful. The soundtrack was amazing, and the movie didn't really have a central villain. Technically, kinda, if you want to count the grandma in it, like spoiler alert. But the movie deals with generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, based on the grandma's past experiences and what she went through growing up and trying to get the family to where they are today, which then trickled down into how she raised the rest of the kids in the family, even through all their great gifts. And it took the one who didn't have any powers to kind of mend that generational trauma and bring the family together as a whole. It's a wonderful film, beautiful film. If you guys haven't seen it, highly recommend it. But it'll be things like those that people can get just as immersed and experience that escapism, because who's to say if you're someone who suffers with the current cycles of different intergenerational trauma or different things you deal with family at the center of it, who's to say they couldn't find some type of positivity and relatability in a movie like that, where this is the good ending for some people, where they may not get a chance to fix things with the family, but they can see someone do it for the first time in this movie. And how does this relate to video games? It'd be kind of similar to where if you're playing an RPG, where you're playing as a main character who's going through making all these big decisions, these big calls, and you may be someone who's indecisive in real life, or who feels powerless at times when you're going through your regular day-to-day life. Maybe you work a 9 to 5 and don't like your boss, but you have to keep going because you hate your job, which is one of the reasons why I think these job simulator like games are so popular, because it takes all the bad parts of the job and lets you just enjoy what the job is at its core foundation. Like Power Wash Simulator, A lot of people have said how calming it is, how relaxing it can be. And games like Crime Scene Cleaner, or I think it was called Visceral Cleanup Detail. Games like those where people are just going through and cleaning when a lot of people hate cleaning in real life, but the concept of getting something done, being productive and accomplishing something can be a great feeling and a wonderful feeling in a video game, which may motivate you to do other things in real life. Of course, it's different from person to person. Some people see it as just another distraction. Other people, the things they experience and what they go through in a video game can sometimes help translate that into making them feel better in real life and just having them motivated to do more things, or just at the very bare minimum, a little bit of a stress relief. So I think no matter what, too much stress will hurt anybody and sometimes even kill you. And I think video games have this unique negative connotation to them because if you're someone who goes around reading a lot of books, people are going to view you as maybe at the worst being a bookworm, a little nerdy, somewhat geeky, but they're not going to say you're spending too much time reading, you know? If you're someone who watches movies all the time, a lot of people may ask you for recommendations or may try to figure out what movies you watch, but not too many people are going to be on your butt about watching too many movies compared to the same way they are about video games. Maybe some will, but it's not quite the same thing. Almost always, if a parent catches you playing video games all the time, they're going to assume you're doing nothing with your life and throwing it away, which can be true. Don't get me wrong. Like I said before, too much of anything is a bad thing. If you're someone who spends your time playing video games all the time, definitely can see where the concepts of video game addiction and escapism may be taken into account a little too much if you're struggling that much to face reality. But if you're someone who games in moderation, it should be no different from the rest of a hobby like playing a sport or hanging out with your friends, spending time with other people. Granted, video games aren't a substitute for that, but for some people, especially like during the pandemic, that was all we had. That's why video gaming blew up so much during the pandemic. We had a lot of people who never tried video games before and didn't have the time to play them and viewed them as somewhat just something for kids. Tried them out for the first time. And a lot of people really got into gaming. Some people got into streaming and content creation through being in the pandemic. And so a lot of people, once they had nothing to do in real life, all they had to do was go to those virtual spaces to kind of substitute for that real life human interaction that they were missing out on, that they couldn't experience. And I think this is both like a double-edged sword with video games, because there are some people I've met online that are just as solid as the people I've met in real life, and vice versa. Some people I've met on, real life, of course, they're gonna be a lot better than people I've met online. But games like MMOs and shooters and live service games that almost entirely thrive off of the interactions you have with other players and other people can be a very important experience in some people's lives, where they are exposed to different cultures and people they never would have met out on the street. Because if you're someone who doesn't leave your state or doesn't have the money to travel and go all over the world, versus maybe running into somebody from the other side of the world because you both share this interest in this specific game, maybe going on a raid together if you're playing like something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, or any other MMO that's been around for like years and years. There's some people I know who've met 10 years ago playing video games who eventually did meet up in real life and are now very close friends. Some people have gotten married due to the relationships they form virtually and continuously going on and on to meet these people in real life. Some people hold virtual funerals for their friends and have, what's the word for it? I think memorials is the word for it. For someone who may have passed in their video games, like people coming together in a guild, finding out one of their players has passed on, and then holding an in-game funeral for them. Like this means something to a lot of people, and, myself included. And I'm not gonna say, video games should almost always be the same as real life, because I think that's very unhealthy, just in general. But the phrase nowadays, if you were to go around and say the phrase "it's just a game" to a lot of people would immediately be offended by that. In terms of, let's say you're someone training for a tournament or someone in an esports scene, which is a very, very niche portion of the actual player base. But if you're someone who, let's say you spend hours upon hours just in your downtime, your free time, your bills are paid, your responsibilities are taken care of, and you just want to take a load off maybe after like an 8-hour, 10-hour shift and just play a video game here and there. And that's kind of like your peace. That's kind of your rest. That's your recharge state. The phrase "it's just a game" might offend you. It might even bother you a little bit, because this is something that helps people deal with and cope with so much. And I think there is a reason why video games are like one of the best selling, if not the best selling forms of entertainment and media, and why they've been around for so long, because there's so many different things to experience in them. A game like Persona, which can teach you how to deal with social links and how to form bonds with different people, because your character quite literally gets stronger through the bonds they form with others. You have to be social. You have to go out there and talk to people. You have to interact with another human being in one way or another if you want to progress through the game. Going through the dialogue, picking the right options. I think that's one of the reasons why RPGs speak to so many different people, because you're constantly making choices. As long as it's a good RPG, the choices you make actually matter. How you speak with and interact with another person actually matter, and you get to see the consequences of your actions without having to live through them. Of course, the character experiences them, but it's not like you're going to be stuck with those consequences, right? Different RTS games, like if you were to play like Warcraft 3 or StarCraft, and dealing with the management of resources and logistics and forming different strategies in your head, like, you know, chess, checkers, even some of the simplest checkers. Playing games like those can help sharpen your mind. There's even games that they have to increase, like, what's the word for it? Pattern recognition. Even some of the smalls, like Simon Says, or those games where you get a bunch of cards that are like flipped upside down and you have to match to. Those can definitely help. Gaming can improve your reflexes. They have a lot of positives and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there are cons. Like I said, playing too many video games is a bad thing. Sometimes you spend so much time sitting down, you forget to end up going in and doing something healthier, like working out, exercising. And it's always a lot healthier just to go outside and actually talk to real people. I think that's the part some people forget when it comes to video games, because video games are so good. I think it's important to recognize that while video games can be an escape, and while they are great for de-stressing, of course, recognizing that it should be done in moderation. I think we need to eliminate the purely negative connotation that is based around the concept of escapism. Because the same thing can be done with books, movies. Sometimes people go into their jobs to escape from the stresses they deal with at home. And I don't think this whole thing isn't unique to video games, but it's almost always what's surrounding the conversation. Whenever you talk to anybody about escapism in video games, it's always, oh, you could be doing this with your life, or what's another word for it? You can be more productive. You should be out at a job. You should be doing anything else but sitting there and enjoying the game that you paid for. You could be a fully stable adult. You could even bring in money from playing video games for a living. And I just think the negative connotation that people have from hearing somebody say they're a gamer, especially if you're an adult, is so weird to me. Especially since the average age of a gamer is 35 nowadays. Or at least it was a few years ago. And it's only going up. We're gonna actually talk about that today. But yeah, like the average gamer is in their 30s. People have grown up with this hobby. The concept of different video games are getting more and more mature. And we have so many different forms of them to choose from that I think it's a great thing that more people should get into. And while it shouldn't be the sole solver of your problems, anybody should still be able to take responsibility for the choices they've made and the situations they're in. But it can be a great escape, and I think people should allow them to be that. People should allow people to escape into these worlds, to get more immersed, to experience them for what they are, and share the different experiences with another human being, like either through talking about the game or playing co-op. A game like Split Fiction or a game like It Takes Two is a beautiful experience you can share with another person, so much so that it's intended and impossible to play without having another human being there, because those games are made to be played with another person. It's supposed to be a shared experience, and if anything, the better relationship you have with somebody you're playing with, the better experience you'll have, and the more you'll be able to relate to what the characters are going through. Like when It Takes Two, the characters are going through a divorce and they have to work through their issues and figure out how to solve them and get back to their daughter because they both get turned into dolls. And then for Split Fiction, it's two writers who don't know each other, who both write very different stories, who are going through their own things, and both come to that, what's the word for it, an office for a publisher who wants to pay the money for their ideas, but then they find out he just wants to steal their ideas and not publish them. That's like the premise of both games. And both sets of characters are going on these long journeys and have their own experiences that they're dealing with in real life, as well as what they're going through in that moment with each other, which I think a lot of people can relate to. Oh, and A Way Out. A Way Out is a very similar game to that, but two people breaking out of prison. And then it's just the journey is the most beautiful part about games like these. Almost always when you have somebody talking about something they've experienced in a video game, what their actions were, how they got through the game, what they felt, the emotions they experienced. It's one of the best parts of the medium, of the franchise, because you're the one doing it. In a book, you're reading a story about what somebody else went through, or maybe historical events, somebody else's experience. And of course, what you experience and like your emotions, whether or not you can relate to something, whether or not it's informative, will vary from person to person. But video games, you're the one going through, even if you're following a set story, you're the one going through playing it, experiencing it. It's happening all right in front of you. And sometimes your choices can derail or enhance the experience and make it even greater. I think that's truly like one of the most beautiful things about gaming and about experiencing video games, is having those separate experiences that we can all come to and talk about with each other. I think that's an important aspect that a lot of people miss when it comes to talking about video games, because so many people just take them for granted. But if you're someone who can get immersed in a video game and buy into what the story is trying to do, you can experience something truly great. Especially with a game like Expedition 33, where the center of the story is dealing with grief. And games aren't just the only ones that kind of do this, where authors or developers sometimes put what they're dealing with in real life or real life concepts into the game itself. You have like movies like Gravity, where I believe the director actually talked about feeling lost and not knowing what to do in life, and just kind of being stuck, watching his peers do different things and becoming successful and not knowing what to do. That's why the movie takes place in space. That's why in a situation where the character's lost, spiraling out of control, and doesn't know what to do. Oh, thank you, Sprinkles. I appreciate that. Thank you for popping in. Just currently having a conversation about escapism in video games. But hope work goes by quickly for you. Hope the day isn't too hard. Thank you again for popping in. But right now, I'm just talking about how different creators kind of put their thoughts and feelings and emotions into the projects they make, and how sometimes they're metaphors what the person's dealing with in real life. Like the movie Weapons, for example, that's like one of the newer examples, right? Where the author really put similar real life experiences with what happened to him, and then found a way to make a movie about it. It's not a one-to-one representation of actual real life events, of course, but the author experienced something similar that he's gone on to say, in terms of like dealing with a tragedy in real life and then finding a way to put that out there for other people to experience, to kind of like process that grief and process what they went through. Because sometimes, obviously, working or throwing yourself into a body of work, it's kind of similar to when an R&B artist has a breakup. I know like there's a few different R&B artists, like when The Weeknd got broken up with, people were like, oh, this next album's gonna be fire. People thought when Chance the Rapper lost his wife that this next album was gonna be fire. People thought, like, you know, just different artists, which tragedies that they go through and what they experience, in some people's eyes, make them a better artist. Like, who's to say if Eminem didn't have that whole thing going on with his mom, him being bullied in school, and then what he dealt with while being on drugs, if he would be the same artist today if he just had a completely different life? Different things of that nature is what I'm mainly talking about. Or another example for anime, the one who made Kaiju number 8. For those that haven't seen it, it's like the example from the perspective of somebody who works cleaning up after kaiju battles, monster battles. Someone who wanted to be part of the team battling the kaiju, but ends up becoming a cleaner instead because he couldn't pass the exam and really had no physical capability. Is somewhat similar to the actual mangaka who made it, whose peers and colleagues are all a lot more successful than they were at the time. And that's kind of the theme that translates into the source material itself. And they found a way to turn it into something productive and turn it into something positive, which is I found really cool. It ended up becoming one of the more successful anime nowadays, so that was really dope to see. But yeah, that's kind of the general theme I wanted to talk about and discuss for today. I didn't want it to be some super long drawn conversation, just because we also have gaming news to get into, and we also have to play Demon Souls as well. So that'll be the overarching theme. I never want to feel like I'm too preachy and just saying like, oh, this is definitely what this situation is, or this is definitely how you should relate to it. If you have different thoughts and feelings, of course, that's perfectly fine. If you disagree with my takes on the concept of escapism in video games, or don't really find my comparisons valid, it's perfectly fine. It's just a way for me to like process my thoughts and my feelings and kind of share them all with you. Oh my god. Emerson, tell Jayla I said happy birthday today. I don't know if you take the day off to celebrate with them, but I got a notification. I have to keep making sure I remember everybody's birthdays. Nice, nice, nice. But yeah, you're just in time because we were just talking about the concept of escapism in video games. Like different thoughts and feelings regarding the matter and how almost oh my god, I can't speak today. How almost every single conversation I've seen has related to video game addiction and the negatives regarding escapism and never any of the positives. Like it's always people like, oh yeah, you know, it could be a healthy distraction, and then that's about it, and then they'll just immediately go full stop into video game addiction. Like we haven't had 1,000 articles relating to video game addiction and how bad gaming can be. Somehow how Grand Theft Auto has convinced somebody to do some heinous act, beat up prostitutes in the streets, that kind of thing. But yeah, that was the overarching mental health discussion part of it. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Most Gen Zers using video games as an escape for sure. Especially with what's going on today. But yeah, that's we're actually going to be talking a little bit about that today. That and this Nintendo article. Let me actually pull that up. This will be a great segue into it. If I can pull that up. Because there's a new study done. So like right here, right? We have our first article of the day. Which is crazy because every time I see this, you would think, but most people saying that all these iPad kids who just grow up and run around just playing games, not paying attention. They gotta throw on Subway Surfers while listening to a video on the side to keep their attention in mind. They always have to have some keys jingled in their face. You would think they would be the biggest buyers and players of video games, but surprisingly, no, not anymore actually. Like I said, that age of the average gamer, there's articles done on this. The average gamer is in their 30s. In their 30s. Like this is an adult hobby. Most kids are spending way less money on video games than older gamers. And that's what this article is about. Young people can't even afford to play video games anymore. What is the world coming to? Let me stop. Hope the Nintendo news is something good and not more proof they're evil. I've got some bad news for you. But let's go on and read this article. I'll get through this one and then we'll go through the Nintendo one. I think we might have talked about this already. So young people are so strapped for cash because remember, gaming is also getting more and more expensive. Games are now costing $70, $80, 120 early access editions so you can play the game a week or two early, a couple days early. And if you're like Borderlands 4, where a $140 version of the game doesn't even come with a disc. Battle passes, season passes, cut content, buggy launches. This is one of the biggest reasons why I say gaming itself isn't dead. It's just suffering from a systemic issue that a lot of us are suffering from as a whole. That being capitalism. Because if you're so much more focused on making money, you're gonna cut corners. You're gonna pay people less. You're gonna lay 9,000 people off. We have record-breaking profits. This is just what's gonna keep happening. But let's go on to read this article as well. But a June study by Circana, first reported by the Wall Street Journal, found that spending among 18 to 24-year-olds dropped by 13% from January to April 2025 compared to last year. Video game purchases were hit particularly hard, falling nearly 25% according to a chart Circana's Matt Piscatella shared on Blue Sky. For context, he shared another chart comparing the drop in spending among Gen Z to spending changes in older generations. The difference is dramatic. Where older generations of spending dropped by less than 5%, Gen Z's is plummeting. And it's particularly surprising to see such a sharp drop in spending on video games, which historically cater towards young people. And this is actually like the chart here. If anybody wants to see it, if anybody wants a link to this article, let me know. Or the chart itself, let me know. But you can see it like just going in and how minus they are. It's heading towards oh my goodness. But let's go on to see what else is part of here. But this goes on to say that this is part of a larger trend resulting from a perfect storm of harsh economic factors hitting Gen Z all at once, from a tough job market to student loans and rising prices. As Piscatella commented on Blue Sky, the rug's not just being pulled out from under young people, it's being burned while they're still standing on it. And this is really unfortunate because a lot of people want to avoid politics. A lot of people don't want to talk about politics. I myself used to be the same way growing up. But you start to realize how much they affect your way of life and how much you can't ignore them and how ignoring them got us to where we are today. Especially with our current president is doing in office. It's just truly unfortunate because the job market sucks. Eggs are like $60 for a carton. It's costing you an arm and leg to buy a video game. And if you want to get a car that's not used, you might as well give away your heart because that's the only way you're going to be able to afford it. Which is unfortunate, but rising prices in the gaming industry are likely only making matters worse. If young adults are having a hard time justifying gaming purchases already, $70 or $80 becoming a new norm for AAA games isn't going to help. The same applies to consoles and PC hardware getting more expensive. I'm looking at you, Switch 2. Nintendo just raised the prices of the Switch 2. That is true. Not to mention, there's so many great games coming out day after day. It's getting hard to just buy one or two because there's so many coming out. We have Borderlands 4 coming out next month. We have Dying Light coming out. We got Battlefield dropping in October. We have some games that are dropping over. Lost Soul Aside dropping at the end of the month. And there's still more games coming out. Not all of them are great, but there's a lot of great games releasing in such a short span of time. Like if we look at just game releases for 2025, like this year, we had Grounded 2 drop, which people have been playing on Game Pass. I've been seeing that. Let me see. I'm only gonna read the good ones, right? Let's go through this. See if we can. Donkey Kong Returns. No, not Donkey Kong Country Returns. The new Donkey Kong game that just came out on the Switch 2. I heard that was an absolute banger. Some people got a Switch 2 just to play that. Dynasty Warriors Origins wasn't bad if you're a big Dynasty Warriors fan. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth came to PC. Like there's so many different things coming out. Sniper Elite has another game. That game has a cult following. A lot of people like playing that. Spider-Man 2 came to PC. You know people are gonna pick that up. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 came out in February, which that game was fire. Civilization 7. Heard that had a few problems though. I'm not sure if I want to use that example. But Avowed mixed again. But there's so many different games coming out. Look at this giant list. Fragpunk had its release. Split Fiction had its release. These are all games that have come out this year. Like it's just a giant list. And some of these are bangers that people don't even know about, like AI Limit. That's a great game. Atomfall, that's like a diamond in the rough. The first Berserker Kazan, if you like Soulsborne games, that came out. South of Midnight, short and sweet, loved it, especially if you're black. The culture in that video game was so great, and it had a positive spin on voodoo and wasn't just full on negative, which was nice to see. Blueprints, if you're someone who's really into puzzles. Like, you guys get my point, right? There's just so many things coming out, and while every game may not be for you, there are still a lot of great games coming out day in and day out. There's new games coming out almost every other day. Even though Oblivion Remastered did numbers. Again, Expedition 33. It's just so many different video games, and we're not even done with the year. We still got the Sonic Sega Crossroads game coming out. I think it's just Sonic Crossroads. But that's going to be another kart racer if people don't want to play, if they want to grab a Switch 2 just to play Mario Kart. Doom the Dark Ages. Capcom's Fighting Collection 2 if you're a fighting game enthusiast like me. It's so many games. Onimusha 2, like it's so many different games. But y'all get the point. But let's see here. As of March 2025, 28% of gamers are between 18 and 29 years old. Gen Z is still a huge part of the gaming community, and they're just spending less money than older generations, possibly opting for more free-to-play games, buying less expensive indie games, or waiting for more sales. So games like Fortnite, Roblox, League of Legends, Valorant, games like those are probably still going to be what this market is leaning towards, especially since they're younger. especially the indie game crowd, because indie games are great. There are a lot of great indie games that come out every year. The ones that aren't just, you know, another survival crafting game or a boomer shooter clone. There's some that have some really great ideas and really dope execution, but they just don't have the marketing to actually get there and get in front of people. But yeah, the rise of less expensive co-op focused friend swap games such as Peak, Repo, and Lethal Company might actually be a sign of the times too. I don't know if I'd call them friend swap. I'd say some of them are definitely streamer bait, but Peak is fire. Not a lot of co-op games are coming out nowadays, and that's really like a hole in the market that needs to be filled. I think that's why games like Peak, Repo, and Lethal Company are doing so good, because people want to play more games with their friends. People want to spend more time with the people around them. But instead of like going out to the club and spending like $60, $80 for drinks, $30 a drink, if you're going to like a horrible club or somewhere more expensive, you're gonna stay inside, not have to travel, and just play games with each other and spending more time with each other that way. Discord, through used to be Zoom, used to be TeamSpeak. But these can be sometimes a great alternative if all you are short on time and can't make the drive to go out somewhere and hang out in person. But most friendship games don't even require particularly powerful PCs for the lure and the barrier to entry, which is another thing too. Graphics cards only getting more and more expensive due to these tariffs and just greed, corporate greed. Nvidia just loves increasing prices. They were going to do that, increase the prices of the graphics card regardless. But yeah, man, I think it's just a reflection of the times that we're in, man. Everything's getting more and more expensive. Everything's only increasing more in price. We're getting less forms of aid financially, and it doesn't seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. So everything's actually gradually becoming more and more unaffordable. So now selling a game for $60, $70, $80 is becoming a bigger and bigger ask, which is why more people just don't want to be bothered anyway. Because we have so many different games releasing, you could just go on and buy like a $5, $10 indie game and put hours upon hours into that and just wait for a AAA game to go on sale, pick that up months later, and then play it anyway. Because most of these AAA games coming out are either going to be live service games or single player games that you don't necessarily need to be there when they launch. Like Borderlands 4, not everybody's going to be picking up Borderlands 4 at launch. What most people are going to be doing is waiting for a sale to come around the holidays, or just pick it up way later when it's cheaper and then play with their friends that way. Some people are going to be using the Steam family share function or game sharing on Xbox and stuff like that to actually play the games instead of just having to go on and buy another separate copy. I'm wondering what the cutoff point will be where people are like, I'm not paying this much for a video game. Because there's almost always somebody who's spending way too much money on a video game than they should. Case in point, we have somebody who spent $32,000 on NBA 2K25 in just 5 months. In this economy, $32,000 on NBA 2K25 in 5 months. Please put the VC down. But one player has gone viral for spending this much in just 5 months. The clip was posted to X, which showed YouTuber 2KOG going through his microtransaction purchases for NBA 2K25 on a PlayStation Store, where he revealed that he spent an astonishing $32,831.68 on the game. The clip reveals that microtransactions started on March 31st, 2025 and ended on August 5th. The date the clip was recorded, all the transactions are for the game's virtual currency pack, with the highest costing $160 each. Oh my goodness, let's see how he talked about this. Can we see this?
$2,831.68 on this game. I'll say it again. $2,831.68.
My God. What do you do? Like, let the VC go. You don't need that many builds in 2K. 2 I get, right? Because there's always the first week or two, first month or two, I would say even, where there's always YouTubers dropping the best build, the best, you know, the best layup package, the best shooting package. Here's the best shot creator, anything like that, right? And then a month or two goes by, they patch it out, they change how shooting works. The lag comes into the game because the servers can't handle the players. It's always super laggy to the point where players on 2K have to adapt to the lag, which is a crazy skill. Normally you only see that stuff in like fighting games or old shooters, but no, for some reason in NBA 2K in 2025 still, people are having to develop another skill on how to develop lag, adjusting to lag online in a server in a part game. because the shooting is almost always different from how your offline games go due to how laggy the servers are. But it's just crazy. It's not uncommon to see this many people spending this much money on a game anymore because, contrary to popular belief, 2K doesn't just make the most money from people buying the game. It's all coming from VC, which is why it costs like 50 VC, 500 VC to change your haircut, to get out that brown shirt. Like, that's by design. It's all psychological. I think the YouTuber the Black Okage did a video on how dangerous some of these microtransactions can be, because these developers, they'll go through and they'll actually have a psychologist come through and figure out how to mentally get you addicted to buying these packs of VC, to buying these microtransactions, to spending money. It's not a coincidence that these companies are having this be VC when you buy it, when you buy the virtual currency. That's why they call it VC instead of you just seeing how much money you're spending, because they don't want you to know. They want to distance you from how much money you're spending as much as possible. When Overwatch invited loot boxes in and people were just spending money on those, that's why it eventually got so bad that everybody started copying it, because they saw how lucrative they could be. The flashing lights, the things exploding in your face, that's them dangling those keys in your face so you spend more money. The card opening packs in like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or the Pokemon games, these people are making hundreds of $1,000s on microtransactions. And that's why they have all these flashing lights, all these different colors, because it's scientifically proven to make people spend more money, to see more things. That's why when you have people doing like stuff like FIFA Ultimate Team, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get certain packs and certain players and certain skills and abilities. That's exactly why they're doing what they're doing. And this is why they keep releasing 2K in the state that they do every single year. This is why they keep finding different ways to incorporate VC into the game. When they have the giant city and you're traveling around on foot to running from place to place, and you're seeing everybody else on a skateboard or a bike and getting around easier. When you see people in the lobby, the same lobby as you, you get on a rinky-dink brown shirt, a pair of 2K generics, and some gray sweatpants, looking homeless. Like you're out here playing, looking bummy, and everybody else who has spent money on the game or is sat there and grinded looks different and looks better. It's all a psychological thing. It's all purposeful. It's all meticulous. It's all methodical. They want you to spend as much money as possible, which is how we get here when someone's spending $32,000 on a game in 5 months. Remember how we were talking about the concept of escapism and video game addiction and how it almost always leads to a negative connotation? This will be that. Or I wouldn't even say like that for a fact, because, you know, you never want to diagnose someone, or you never want to, what's the word for it, immediately say it's something when it's not. But it's not uncommon to see that people spending thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars on VC now, because the game feels so painful when you're playing with a brand new character. Grinding through the game as a brand new character in 2K feels awful, and that's by design. They want you to spend money. They want you to be like this guy here. No hate to him personally, but they want you to be spending money like this. This is how 2K makes most of their money. But even he had to come out himself and say that he's learned his lesson from spending such a large amount of money, and warned others that it's not worth chasing cards or spending large amounts of money for content creation, which is another thing too. A lot of big streamers, a lot of big content creators will come out here and flex the thousands of dollars they spent like it's something to be proud of. It's not. It's not. It never is. Think about all the things you could do with $32,000 and just realize where exactly this went. This could have been put in savings, investments, you know, and I'm not someone who's going to tell people how to spend their money, but if you're clearly regretting it and you don't want to end up like this person, just be mindful of what you're spending and the games that you're playing. Because, you know, $20 here, $20 there may not seem like a lot, but then you add it up by the end of the year and you realize just how much money is gone from your bank account. But despite him spending $32,000, he's still not obtained all the best cards in the game, which is insane. In fact, just by watching his video, he would probably need to spend an equal amount of money to get near completion. What? He spent $32,000 and you're telling me he hasn't obtained all the best cards in the game yet? It's insane. But one thing's for sure, he says he will not spend as much again because he don't get rewarded for it. As much as he spent, he should have had everything in the game, but it's not even close. NBA 2K26 also releases on September 5th, 2025. By the way, did I mention that, like, none of the VC you spend in the previous 2K game will carry over into the next 2K game? Meaning that even though he spent $32,000 on this 2K game, keep in mind, $32,000 on this 2K game, he's gonna be forced to spend just as much, if not even more money in the next 2K game. For the same purpose of creating builds, trying to get the best cards. And not to mention that he's probably gonna buy the $100 edition because that comes with a certain amount of VC that you need to start off. Which is very common because people don't just spend $60, $70, $80 in a game. They get the highest edition because that comes with the VC you need to actually start off with somewhat of a decent character. Oh, Lord. Like I said, this is why it's important to kind of just recognize that the amount of money you're spending. And why so many people incorporate escapism or video game addiction because they see articles and headlines like these where someone who spent a little too much time with the game and wasn't able to take himself out of that mode and just kind of look at what he was doing financially ended up spending 32 grand on the game. Like, they can be a distraction, they can be dope, but just make sure you're being responsible and, like with any other great hobby, doing it in moderation because too much of anything is a bad thing. Let's go on to read this next one though. Nintendo making headlines again for all the wrong reasons. I will always say nobody hates their fans more than Nintendo. Nobody hates their fans more than Nintendo. Proof is in the pudding, man. From shutting down community sites to help out game preservation when it comes to ROMs and things, to even going as far as to stop someone running a charity event with their games in it. They've been running, this charity event has been going on for 9 years and has been running Nintendo games for 9 years straight. It's a speedrunning charity. But apparently those 9 years constituted an unauthorized use for good measure. Just to add insult to injury. But let's go on and read this article so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here. Finally, Mario is safe from being used to raise money for charity. Does the idea of Mario eschewing the dev intended carpets and Mario 64 keep you up at night? Do speedrunners dedicating themselves to games like pro athletes make you weep? Don't worry, Nintendo's here to protect you. You're safe now. Teeing itself up for a fantastic own goal, Nintendo has contacted the organizers of RTA, which is one of Japan's largest speedrunning charity events, and wagged their big legal finger. RTA has been raising money since 2014, making this year's event the 9th of its kind, and Nintendo has had enough. In a notice posted to the site, RTA explains RTA in Japan has previously used Nintendo games, but on June 13th, 2025, Nintendo has pointed out that the use of Nintendo games by a corporation requires prior permission, and that our previous use was without prior permission and constituted unauthorized use. RTA in Japan wishes to continue using Nintendo games and has begun discussions with Nintendo regarding permission. However, because RTA's next event is just around the corner starting in August, Nintendo successfully cajoled, I gotta see how this is pronounced, the organizers into not just using Nintendo games for this one, which is kind of a big deal given how central games like Super Mario 64 are to the speedrunning community. There's a sort of reason for all this beyond Nintendo continuing to be jerks. Japanese game publishers are often far stricter about what counts as copyright infringement when it comes to streaming their games on their home turf. In 2022, a man was even arrested for it by CODA, Japan's content overseas distribution agency. And each publisher sets their own definitions for what is and isn't allowed, with entire websites popping up to collect this information in one place so the internet cops don't come a knocking. It's hard to say for certain, but it does still feel like Nintendo is making the choice to be like this. Either way, Mario is safe from being used to raise money for good causes in Japan. What a close one. It's just unfortunate, man, because you had different things like Smash tournaments. You have people singing Nintendo's praises, and Nintendo doesn't deserve how loyal their fans are to them, man. The amount of corporate bootlicking I've seen Nintendo fans do for a company that does not give a shit about them is insane. There's so many different instances where they've screwed over their fans, they've canceled community ran events that have been organized, then people have tried to go through the proper channels and Nintendo just outright says no. They outright cancel so many different things, and it's nothing but good publicity for the games, because you have more people enjoying your game on a bigger platform, on a grander scale, that more people can relate with. And for some reason, Nintendo's just always been against it. It's mind-boggling at this point. It's really weird. It's getting really weird. You would think most companies would always be all for this, like Sega. They're always for people making fan Sonic games. They actually just gave a nod of approval to a fan-made Sonic tag fighting game that has rollback netcode and a lot of other things added onto it. They currently have a Discord for that. That's been really good. They almost always support their fan projects, or if not directly support them, they always say like, "Oh, hey, this is pretty cool. Thank you for doing this." And Nintendo has almost always been the direct opposite of that. And while legally they're in the right, I'd argue morally there's something that needs to be done here or said here. It's so bad. But yeah, they're not beating the allegations that they hate their fans more than anybody else on the planet. Let's go on to our other gaming news we have here.
I can't get jiggy with this shit.
What's up, Rage? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you popping in. You're just about how much Nintendo hates their fans. But let's go on here. Some Marvel Rivals news, some very light Marvel Rivals news for anybody who still happens to be playing if the community hasn't pushed you away yet. You know, for being overly toxic and aggressive for no reason in a video game.
Embarrassing.
But they're trying to launch cross progression discussions for how cross progression will be implemented into the game. So currently it still will be quite a ways off, but they're not having conversations based around implementing cross progression. Let's go on to see closer what they've been talking about. But according to the game director Guang Guang, through Insider Gaming, oh my goodness, English is hard. Insider Gaming understands plans are still in the early stages. Since launch last year, demands for cross-progression support in Marvel Rivals has been constant, particularly as the closed alpha test with exclusive rewards was PC only. As such, anyone who participated in the closed alpha test and now prefers to play on console cannot take advantage of the bonuses. Cross-progression is very much at the forefront in developers' minds, however, but implementation into the game could still be a way off. How hungry is a report for news and articles about the launch of discussions? Yeah, it's kind of wild because people have been begging and asking for Marvel Rivals cross progression for a hot minute now. Yeah, right. It's crazy. They needed those clicks, right? They needed people to click on the article, see what was going on. I was curious. I read a little bit about the article. Just wanted to see where their heads were at and how much of a priority it was in their heads. So that's why I brought it up here. And also so you guys don't get baited like I did. But speaking of Insider Gaming and Marvel Rivals Ignite mid-season finals in Guangzhou, Guang deferred a question on cross progression to the recently launched Discord community event, asking players to submit their ideas. And cross progression is the main focus of the new Ask the Devs event for Marvel Rivals, which began August 8th, with players asking to submit their ideas, ask questions, and shape the future of the game. The event will end on August 22nd. So if you guys do have any feedback of the game or wanting them to bring anything into the game, you do have a question to ask the developers directly. We leave the baiting to you, the master. Ayo. But cross progression is the main focus. Yeah, we said that. But the director informed Insider Gaming that feedback from the event will be collected and the new team will discuss internally to come up with ideas which suggest plans, if there are any, are still in a very early stage. That means cross progression in Marvel Rivals could still be a while off, particularly as Guang previously outlined Insider Gaming, I don't know why I said development, how new characters take around a year to develop. And while cross progression is unlikely to have the same amount of developmental stages as a new character, it certainly doesn't seem like it's something that could be added imminently. The good news, however, is the Discord event is further evidence that NetEase is keeping a close eye on the community discussion to shape the development, and a new event could open the door to more direct forms of feedback in the future. So that's just interesting. If you guys wondered where cross progression was or whether or not they were thinking about it, the only thing we know is that they are, and that it's apparently one of their top priorities. I haven't seen the news yet. I actually did fire up the game and was able to get playing, but I haven't seen any news on the bazaar lately. Oh, what's going on with the bazaar, Rich? It was pretty cool. Let's see if I can find anything. They're bringing it to Steam, but now as a free-to-play? Interesting. They said how much it would be. Curious to see like what the pricing for a game like that would be. If you currently have it through the launcher, you can't get it for free on Steam. That's, I don't know. That's a little
Oh shit. Here we go again.
company coming through and then just all of a sudden scorning their original fan base. But I feel like I've seen this before. Understandably, because having to go through the game, and some people have already spent money on the game, coming through and then having to buy it separately on Steam. Yeah, that's scummy. That's scummy. Each character is gonna be like $20 something too. This is why I always say one of the biggest problems in gaming is corporate greed and capitalism. Because they're just too money hungry at this point. Why do this? This would have been such a great way to build up goodwill in your community if you just let people who already spent money in the game through your launcher, who supported your game through its development, to just kind of get the game free on Steam. They could have even done with certain games. I don't know if it was Deep Rock Galactic. No, it wasn't Deep Rock Galactic. I think it was a completely different game, but they had it set up to where all the content in the game was free. But they actually had DLC that was just set up to where if you wanted to support the developers directly, you could just straight up give them money. And other content would come from that, but they would just give you everything in the game. So you necessarily didn't have to do that for microtransactions like cosmetics or gear or different classes or abilities or anything like that. If everything like that was already in the game, anything they added would be automatically for free. So if you just wanted to send the developers money so they could keep the game alive, they gave you the choice. That's something the Bazaar could have done as well. The game is supposed to be an NFT game, but the community didn't like the NFT thing, so they rolled that off of it. They didn't fully know how to monetize it anymore. I'm surprised it survived this long if it was originally intended to be an NFT game. That's news to me. That's actually insane. An NFT game? It all makes sense now. It all makes perfect sense now. That's why the cosmetics are numbered. Dear Lord. Speaking of somebody not spurning their core fan base and understanding the source material, this is the same director who I believe directed Barbarians and just the recently released movie Weapons. Zach Kreger. He says his Resident Evil movie, which he happens to be making a new Resident Evil movie for those who didn't know, exists outside the original characters because fans already have that with the games. He's not going to just outright go and tell Leon's story. He's not going to go back and mess with the source material and be like, oh, this is how Leon's first day on the Force was in Resident Evil 2 all over again. But they go on to say that he remains adamant about not remaking any story with Resident Evil Saga for his big screen and adaptation. And although he wants to have an original plot, the Weapons director told Inverse that he's not breaking the rules of the games. Yeah, here's another story in that universe, which that's what the Fallout TV show does, which is a really great adaptation so far, because they didn't take, you know, the Soul Survivor, they didn't take any of the other characters like the Courier, any of the people who starred in the games and told their story on the big screen. No, they took somebody who's in that universe as a completely separate character and told a unique story within that universe, which is great. This is a wonderful idea. Characters are actually likable. The show is entertaining and the writing is good. Page out of Living Dead movies, which is what the Resident Evil games are originally based off of. Really? That's dope. But although he wants to have an original plot, he told him that he's not breaking the rules of the game. And he continued, I'm the biggest worshiper of the games, so I'm telling a story that is a love letter to the games and follows the rules of the games. He will direct a movie based on a hugely popular horror video game franchise. He has written the script alongside his co-writer, Shay Hatton. Constantine Film is producing and co-financing the film. Constantine's Robert Kolzer, Vertigo's Entertainment's Roy Lee, and Miri Yoon and PlayStation Productions are also producing. And he's set on creating a project that is outside of the characters of the game, but he reassured fans that the game's roots will be respected. It is obedient to the lore of the games. It's just a different story. He says, I'm not going to tell Leon's story because Leon's story is told in the games. Fans already have that. Yeah. We know when the original Resident Evil came out in 1994. And then the first Resident Evil film came out in 2002. Now, as somebody who didn't initially play the games and saw these movies, I enjoyed them for what they were. and then going back and playing the games and then watching the movies again, I also understand how out of touch with the source material they were and why people were so mad and so angry. Because they were fun films. I enjoyed them. But of course, if you're someone who's a Resident Evil fan and you get to hear that your favorite franchise is coming to the big screen and you're expecting like, oh, I wonder what Chris is gonna look like, Leon and all these other characters, and you're like, who the is Alice? I can see why these movies were viewed the way that they are. Man, they go on to say like which all movies they released and which ones they made. But apparently in 2021, filmmaker Johannes Roberts took on a franchise reboot, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I believe that's one of the ones Lance Reddick starred in before he passed, if I remember correctly. But ahead of the August 8th release of Weapons, Krager told Variety he hopes to capture the cinematic experience of Resident Evil, and goes on to say that those games pioneered something special. He said, though the pacing of the games is so unique and effective, and just being locked in one character moving from point A to point B, knowing you're going to pass through this gauntlet of terror and you've got to be methodical and thoughtful about it, that's cool. That's cinematic, so I want to tell the story in the world of the games that honors the lore of the games, but is a new story. So that's interesting. It's nice to see that a director, a developer, at least has the best intentions, because he could say all this and then screw it up anyway. So we'll just have to wait and see. But he's saying all the right things. Something you want to hear from a director of a beloved franchise. Similar to like how you would want Henry Cavill to be starring in like a Warhammer role and be producing for that. So what's crazy is Resident Evil was originally inspired, so it's based on the Living Dead series movies, and there was supposed to be a Resident Evil movie made by Romero, like full circle. Would have been so cool if it had come to pass. I wonder why he didn't do it. You think it was like time constraints or budget or just something he wasn't interested in? Because that would have been sick. Like a George Romero Resident Evil movie, I think he would have captured the tone perfectly. Especially at the time too. Oh, he even pulled out the Wikipedia page. Let me open this. Oh, wow. I see what happened here. Capcom rejected the script. That's crazy. So we would have had the Spencer Mansion here too. Oh, yeah, okay. Came out January 7th, 2025. That's dope. He would not sell his soul just to get a film done. I love that. Yeah, I definitely believe in not sacrificing artistic vision or your integrity just to get a movie done and just to get something out the door. That's dope. And some not so dope news. We have yet another gaming company having to unionize and having to go on strike because they're not being paid or treated fairly and properly. Which is unfortunate, the amount of times this keeps happening, especially with like companies like Blizzard and other companies trying to union bust and just not treat their employees fairly. You would think it would be a lot cheaper for them to just pay their employees what they're worth, because they spend so much money in union busting and not paying people properly. But let's go on and read what's exactly happening here. Nexon owned game studios enters the indefinite strike over employee bonuses allegedly being slashed while executive bonuses have been increased. There's just another game that came out not too long ago, Subnautica 2. They finished their development. They were going to be releasing an early access ahead of time, and we're getting everything done, and we're due to be paid their bonuses. But what the actual company who was over them, the publisher, what they ended up doing was gutting their jobs and then firing off a large portion of the staff just so they wouldn't have to pay them their bonuses. It's disgusting, man. But Neopol, the developer of Dungeon Fighter Online and the first Berserker Kazan, announced that it would expand the scope of its strike. The strike in Neopol, the studio behind the multi-billion-dollar Dungeon Fighter franchise, has intensified as reported by This Is Game. Employees of the Nexon-owned subsidiary started organizing walkouts 5 days a week as opposed to 3. Starting July 31st, the strike has no set end date and is intended to last until management agrees to clearly explain how performance bonuses are calculated. Dungeon Fighter Online is one of the biggest, highest grossing games of all time. Total lifetime revenue over $22 billion as of 2024. So if you guys don't know, this is also the same verse that DNF Duel takes place in. But Neopol's employees are not happy about how much they're being paid, especially against the company's strong financial performance. The union claims that even when employees get the same performance evaluations, some receive far less bonus payouts than others, and the opaque system has raised suspicions about employees' personal relationships with managers, potentially influencing pay. And they also go on to accuse Neopol of arbitrarily cutting a bonus meant for Dungeon Fighter Mobile Team by 30%, while at the same time giving 3 company executives a combined $20 million last year. Let me drink some water, don't mind. Which is 10 times more than a year before. And union comments that this has severely damaged the motivation of development team members and Neopol employees. On the same day the union announced the expanded strike, Neopol said it would hand out about $44 million in bonuses to the Dungeon Fighter Mobile Team. Around 400 developers would get an average of double their annual salary, with top performers getting triple. And this comes out the initial payout in February worth around $70 million, meaning the team will receive bonuses totaling more than 5 times their yearly pay. Both sides started meeting for negotiations from August 1st, initiated by Neopol, and the company says it wants to settle the dispute and keep the game services running smoothly, while the union maintains that there will be no concessions on the matter of directly distributing operating profits to the employees. So I thought this was interesting, something to report on, just to let you guys know that more of this stuff is continuing to be happening in the gaming space, and how important it is for developers and for different companies to kind of come together and fight against this sort of thing. And also, speaking of nightmares, Secure Boot is breaking some people's PCs in Battlefield. Well, Secure Boot itself isn't breaking people's PCs. People trying to turn on Secure Boot is what is breaking their PCs, because some of them, let's read the article, because it's turning into a nightmare for some, as per the headline. But both Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty Black Ops 7 are going to require you to have Secure Boot turned on. So Battlefield 6 on PC requires Secure Boot, something meant to help ward off cheaters. And unfortunately, cheaters are already in the game, as we found out, with more than 330,000 people being banned so far in the beta alone, which is crazy. But for many, this is already enabled and thus a non-issue as they attempt to play the beta. But for others, it may mean taking a trip into the BIOS menus they're unaccustomed to seeing, but ultimately something that can be resolved in a matter of minutes. For others, still, the process of enabling Secure Boot is turning out to be much a bigger problem. I've seen it with a few different streamers who have talked about how they aren't able to play Battlefield 6. Some people's PCs, they accidentally took out of commission and they break their system trying to turn on Secure Boot. So it really is unfortunate. It just goes to show not everybody has the same type of options and not everybody's tech savvy, because you do have some people who order their PCs pre-built. Hey, congratulations to you. You got what you wanted. Congratulations on being first, technically. But thank you for coming in. We're just talking about how some people are accidentally breaking their PCs by turning on Secure Boot when they were playing the Battlefield 6 beta. But Secure Boot is often enabled by the default on newer PCs, but that's not always the case. Many people have never even heard of it before, but with a great deal of interest in the newly launched Battlefield 6 beta, many people are hearing the term for the first time and perhaps having to figure out what acronyms like BIOS and UEFI refer to, and how to deal with the possibility that the drive Windows is installed on it uses MBR instead of GPT. Good thing you didn't play it. Yeah, it's just unfortunate, man. I would have broke everything. It's crazy. But depending on your specific motherboard, the specific steps for turning Secure Boot on can be different, but it involves you starting your computer, accessing the menu before Windows begins to boot up, and making some tweaks. Your toaster would have melted anyway. Oh lord. However, messing with your BIOS can go awry, and indeed, some players have found they simply boot into a black screen, temporarily preventing them from using their computer entirely. A number of accounts like this have been shared on Reddit, and anecdotally, GameSpot staff have heard directly from friends encountering just these sorts of issues. Oh lord. And the ultimate solution can involve having to remove the CMOS battery from the motherboard, which you have to do to reset your BIOS, flashing it, and relying on the board's integrated HDMI output rather than a video card in order to even get back into the BIOS menus. It's unlikely that EA plans to make changes to the Secure Boot requirement, even if it doesn't seem to be entirely keeping cheaters at bay. That can mean even a wider swath of players encountering Secure Boot as the open beta expands to more players this weekend and the full version of Battlefield 6 launches in October. Activision, oh god. Activision has also revealed that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will require Secure Boot. So if you're someone who just like, well, I'm not going to play Battlefield, I'm just going to play Call of Duty, you're going to have the same issue. So it's one of those things that if you have a console, you may just want to buy this one on console. I was playing on PlayStation. I had no issues. I didn't want to. I have secure boot turned on, but I didn't know how optimized the game was going to be, so I just played it on console. It ran butterly smooth for me, and it ran butterly smooth for a few of my friends, but of course, it's not going to be everybody's experience. Hopefully around Christmas, we're going to retire the toaster. Are y'all going to have a funeral for the toaster? What has this toaster been through, man? Like, it sounds like this toaster has seen some things. But man, if you like playing multiplayer games on PC, you may just have to hope secure boot is already enabled, or you're among those fortunate enough to not encounter problems when turning it on. It just goes unfortunate because a lot of people are blaming the companies and developers for this, saying they should find other ways to deal with cheaters. But this is one of the main things they can do. I wouldn't say it's the only solution, but requiring you to have secure boot on, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Because somebody was like, you guys need to find a way to deal with these cheaters. So they're finding different ways to deal with cheaters. And they're like, no, not like that. And it's like, well, no, we're going to have cheaters anyway. So we got to make it as hard for them to get in as possible. And if they have to turn on secure boot, it's what they will do. Everything from this article is that secure boot is required to play the game because the anti-cheat software, and it also says most PCs come with it already enabled. So something that is almost always on is a new requirement to fight off cheating, but it's already almost always on. So yeah. They basically like, okay, so this switch that's almost always flipped, you just have to make sure it's on when you boot up the game and you'll play fine. But I guess I didn't know how many people were actually walking around with secure boot off, because that's something normally you're supposed to keep on anyway. But I guess due to how different people's systems work, they may have them off because out of necessity for their specific setup, I guess. I don't know. I'd imagine it's a lot like having a car where, you know, you would think a lot of cars are built uniformly, but then there's also the modifications a person can make to their car. Everybody drives on different roads. Everybody doesn't drive the same. So how you get to a certain place, you might run into a specific issue that your car is experiencing that somebody else who drives back and forth maybe a lot shorter of a distance may not experience. It's really crazy with PCs because you can have so many different setups for them that secure boot may not even be the thing that's bricking your PC. It may be something else that you're not supposed to have on, or something else causing the issue. So it's really weird. A lot of non-off-the-shelf. Yeah. Exactly what I was thinking of. Because not everybody has, like, I've even heard there's some difficulties if you don't have Windows 11. Like, you may have to search and find the option a lot harder than if you don't have Windows 11 or Windows 10. So it's getting kind of crazy. But we got 2 more articles for you guys, and then we're gonna start playing some Demon Souls. I do wonder what's gonna come from this long term, because this seems to be, the beta was really successful. For me, I'm skeptical, but from a positive standpoint, because I had a really good time playing the beta. The gunplay felt great. Of course, it's more Battlefield. So what made Battlefield like 3 and 4 and Bad Company great feels like they've kind of added and brought back here. Of course, not everything is destructible, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised to find out how much stuff you could destroy. Like if somebody was camping in a building, it was a nice change of pace to be able to blow that up and stop somebody from sniping all day and just like kind of blow up the whole building so they couldn't run back in there. Of course, there were some server and some ping issues, and there were like 20,000 player queues, but of course, because it's so popular, and I don't think I waited in the queue for more than like 2 minutes. So it really wasn't a factor for me personally. I had a good experience, and a few of my friends had good experiences, so I won't complain about the game necessarily, but I do wonder how it'll be when the game drops, what the monetization will look like long term, and what all they'll add to the game, because they say their skins will be grounded, but this is EA we're talking about. So who's to say they won't do something crazy and wacky in order to get people to buy it and say it's a one-off thing when it's not? I don't trust them. But the actual core gameplay loop of Battlefield felt really good in the beta. We'll just have to see how the game is when it fully launches. I have another article for you guys though. And after there's just 2 more and we're done. But supposedly the PlayStation 5 generation may finally be starting for real, as PS4 support is set to wind down by 2026. I don't know how effective this will be though, because I think we're about to go right into having the same problem, because Sony has already been talking about they're working on a PlayStation 6, and Microsoft has already been talking about they're working on a new Xbox or the new plans essentially for the next gaming generation. which they're mainly focusing on more software than hardware, just because they integrate with so many different things, and they've already kind of given up on competing with Sony in the hardware space. What's got me about this is we've just now gotten to the point a few months back that there are more PS5 users than PS4 users. Like, this just happened now as of this year. And what I'm thinking is about to happen is once they start this new generations and new PlayStations and everything, that we're about to have the same issues with PlayStation 5s as we did PlayStation 4s, where a lot of people aren't going to want to upgrade, especially since we hit such a big wall with graphics and technology. There's not really a lot of innovation being done right now, and you can only make graphics look so realistic. I think now it's going to come down to how well optimized the hardware is. But let's go on and read this article, see what they got to say. The PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, and next generation has seen the longest cross-generation period to date, making players feel like the actual new generation never truly began. But next year may mark the end of this long period, with multiple developers looking into dropping PlayStation 4 support. It's every 5 to 7 years for a new console, so we're looking at 2027 most likely. That's what everybody was thinking, yeah. But a new report shared by Games Industry has been revealed that Hoyoverse is dropping PlayStation 4 support for the extremely popular Genshin Impact. And it isn't going to be an isolated move, as many other operators of major online and live service titles are also eyeing out the timeline for dropping PS4 support, while some developers are dropping support for the previous generation system due to technical reasons, like in Genshin Impact's case. The report suggests that the initial install bases of the current generation systems are now high enough for some publishers to leave the PlayStation 4 behind and focus their effort on PlayStation 5 and Series S and X. And with Sony's system confirmed to have shipped 80.3 million PlayStation 5 units, it's not surprising to hear that developers of live service games are finally ready to leave the previous console generation behind.
J.Deep says, oh my sweet salacious maxi waxy.
Salacious.
If we're talking escaping, there's nothing I want to be more than the place you surround yourself in when you get hard. And I mean hard gearing up for Demon Souls, and I'm yearning to be your semen bowl, your cream and hole, your breach and goal, your greed and zone. I will devour you, handsome fucker.
Yo, love me harder. I can explain, but I don't think you want. Tony, you know, how's your day? How's Last of Us going? Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about different events, you know, that we got going on here, you know. Let's boom, brother, mob. What's up, bro? You know, I hope you've been doing well. How's Destiny treating you? You know, they just had a big update not too long ago. Let's talk about that. You know, you know. Y'all got any Fortnite tournaments coming up y'all gotta prepare for? You know, some business to mind right now. I don't know if you want me to love me harder. I don't know. I don't think anybody needs an explanation. I think it was just enough detail so there are nothing left to the imagination. Nothing left to the imagination.
J.Deep says The Last of Us would be better if it were the last of you in a puddle on the small of my back. Fomar, haven't seen you in a minute. I hope you're doing well. I saw you streaming the other day. I'm sorry I wasn't able to pop in. But you know, I'm getting the sense that I'm being judged right now. I don't like that. But let's all talk about some more of this gaming news, right? Let's discuss this article, right? You know, I have to let the homies know I'm still alive. I feel that. We were just having a conversation about how the PS4s are finally being left behind, you know, and spalls of backs, puddles. I guess that's everything being discussed currently today. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday. And you know, escapism in video games. Some people read a good book. Some people watch a movie. Some people make one. Some people might play a video game. You know, however you get away from the stresses of life. I think everybody has their particular methods of dealing with their day-to-day lives, and I think, you know, video games are a great concept for that, you know. But yeah, let's just Look at me, y'all. Look at me. There's nothing out of pocket happening here. There's nothing. This is a wholesome stream. This is a wholesome stream. Look into my eyes. I'm looking at y'all. This is a wholesome stream, I promise. Oh man. Wholesome is crazy. Oh lord. But yeah, so the current console generation might be short-lived, as there's been news and people talking about from Sony and Microsoft which should release between the next couple of years. Going by the rumors, both PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Next will represent a sort of shift from both manufacturers, as Sony is reportedly aiming to offer a 4K 120 FPS machine while keeping costs down, while Microsoft is going to use the flexibility offered by the Magnus APU to deliver a wider range of systems, which won't necessarily compete with a traditional console but with gaming PCs. And as such, amidst so many challenges, it seems like gaming is going to change quite a bit in the future, and even the concepts of console generations and cross-gen periods may become a thing of the past. But again, I don't want to sound ungrateful. Thank you all for coming through. Thank you all for showing up, for hanging out. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate you guys being here as always. Never too humble to thank anybody. No, never too, what is it? Arrogant to thank anybody. I always got to say humble. But really, thank you all so much for popping in, for hanging out. Text-to-speech had the impact of like when you see it run and trip on a hurdle and struggle to get back and just keep tripping on the rest. Yeah. You know, you don't stop, but you keep going. I've seen that happen, by the way. I've seen a hurdler stop mid-race and just start walking over the hurdles, and his coach was so pissed. Like, they fall over the first 2 or 3 and they're like, man, I already lost, so let me just fall. It's such a crazy thing to see, man. But I think everybody will like this possible rumor, which is something we've been asking for years. But keep in mind, this is a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. But if this is true, this would be hype, as there's possibly a new prototype game in the works, a playtester has claimed. A new prototype game is reportedly in development, according to a user on Reddit by the name of Bigby. They were given details about a new game in the series as part of a recent study group session. The user goes on to claim that the game will see Alex Mercer return as its protagonist. Gameplay will reportedly feature shape-shifting and transforming other people in order to infiltrate areas. Lastly, will be based in New York City. And they reached out to him regarding these claims. We were told the following. It was a YouGov survey which asked me to sign an NDA and confirm that I would not disclose the contents, so we already know he was lying. And it then confirmed a series of features that upcoming games will include and how popular this was with me. It was not a playtest, but did specify that these features were already planned as part of upcoming games. Insider Gaming has yet to fully verify the validity of these claims, but felt like it was a rumor worth covering. As always, until it's verified by Insider Gaming, more details are officially announced by Activision. Take all the information with a grain of salt. Prototype series hasn't seen a new game released since 2012's Prototype 2, which I love the Prototype games. Prototype, Infamous, those were dope superhero games, or at least they felt like superhero games. I'm not gonna say like they were outright hero games, but they were really fun. You were running around in the sandbox, you had all these different powers and abilities, you were running around blowing things up, you know, saving a day or harming people if you were playing Infamous, because they did have a morality system, a good karma, a bad karma system, which actually was pretty good. Second Son I think was okay too. It wasn't as good as 1 and 2, but Second Son was a nice addition. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Infamous and Prototype, those were great games. That's back when developers were still coming up with a lot of different new concepts and taking risks, because they didn't know how successful, how bad that game was going to perform or sell. Because if like a game like, what's the word for it, Darksiders 2 or Sleeping Dogs can prove that even if your game is really good, if it doesn't sell well, it may kill the franchise. Which Sleeping Dogs, even though it was a really good game, it didn't sell enough copies for them to fully do the sequel, which is why the company ended up closing their doors. And we almost didn't get a Darksiders 3 because Darksiders 2 sold so poorly. Yeah, I think there's just a different feeling with the first games behind Infamous and Prototype. To be fair, it's kind of hard to follow up games like those too, because you're seeing it for the very first time. It's like, how do you capture that feeling of somebody first stepping into a game like that for the first time all over again? Because we haven't seen games like those until like what felt like Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, where you're literally running around as a Hulk and like ripping cars apart and putting them on as gloves and then just beating people, grabbing robots, throwing them around, grabbing people, and you're just running around being a menace. It was a fun game, dude. Hearing all the military men like going through radioing in people and just like telling them what you were doing, like that was hype. Got Infamous for free from PlayStation Network 2011. By the way, what's up, Immersive? Thank you guys for popping in. When the network went down for like 3 months and nobody could log in, they gave us the option to choose from 5 different free games. I picked that one. Darksiders 2 was the best selling in the series. We almost didn't get 3 because the studio folded and needed to sell the IPs. At least that's how I remember it. Was it? I might be misremembering then. I think it didn't meet their expectations. That's what it was. Yeah, here it is. It didn't meet their sales that they had for the expectations in the long run. Because it debuted when it first came out and sold over 247,000 units and 1.5 million unit copies. But despite the initial sales, the game apparently did not perform their expectations. But they needed to sell around 2 million to reach its break-even point. It kind of made me wonder like why it was such a long gap. But then I remember I remember this being such a big point of news where THQ had to sell off a lot of their IPs. Now I do remember that. I definitely remember that as well. I had to like double check. I was like, maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, it's like some of that what Soul Calibur 6's story was. Oh, THQ folded, then it became THQ Nordic. I was wondering about that. Yeah, because I was gonna say Soul Calibur 6 was very similar. While the game did sell well, it didn't meet expectations, which is why we didn't get a Soul Calibur 7. That's unfortunate, man. So that's mostly a developer issue then, as far as Darksiders 2. But yeah, they just didn't sell the amount that they needed. But apparently the prototype series hasn't seen a new game since 2012, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, which it got ported to in 2015. And there hasn't been any news surrounding the series ever since. After Prototype 2's initial launch, Activision said that the game did not find a broad commercial audience, leading to layoffs at its developer Radical Entertainment. And in addition to claims of a new prototype game, the same person revealed some details planned for Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Per his claims, the game will feature a co-op story mode with up to 4 players, Omni movement, changes to zombies, and more. So that's interesting. I don't know about you guys. I would be extremely excited if they were to do a new prototype game, but obviously this is just rumors, so take it with a grain of salt. This could mean nothing at all in the slightest. This could be a credible source. We don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, if it's something Activision sees money in, it's something they decide to do. Technically, it was absorbed in several studios, but Darksiders went to new company, THQ Nordic. I'm glad they kept it, because Darksiders 4 seems like it's going to be good with the initial reveal, the teaser. I'm excited for it. Like 3 was decent. The spin-off game they had was okay. 2 was fire, and 1 was good. But yeah, especially with the rising cost of everything, it's kind of hard for developers to take risks in this current climate. So we're hoping that what's the word for it? More and more games like these do well, so more developers get motivated to kind of just do different things and try out different things and not just do what's safe. Because that's kind of how Battlefield 6 felt to me. Like, it very much is Battlefield. It felt really safe because after 2042 and 5 flopped financially, they need a win here. 2042 and 5 did better as the years went on, but when they first came out, they were financial flops. Keep in mind, 2042 when it released was a buggy mess and didn't even have a scoreboard in it. And a lot of people, after playing Battlefield 1 and then seeing Battlefield 5 being set in a similar time period, they were really mad about the lack of historical authenticity, because obviously no one's expecting to be full on accurate. Like, you didn't have a bunch of people going around in different blimps wearing these full-on flamethrower kits and stuff like that, but it was believable for the time period. And that game was just beautiful and gorgeous and played really well. But Battlefield 6 has a lot of hype riding behind it, and a former Blizzard president predicts that Battlefield 6 will boot stomp Call of Duty this year. I'm not gonna immediately say Call of Duty is gonna be trash, but I will say I was not, what's the word for it, impressed when they said they were still gonna have it on PlayStation 4 and other last gen consoles. And while Black Ops 6 did have like a record breakout of players when the game first launched, it immediately had like a sharp decline in players over time. It's not doing like awful, but it didn't perform up to their expectations of what they thought the game was gonna do.
especially for how it started. Like its biggest struggle is retaining players, which is why some people are thinking like Battlefield 6 is going to do super well. But the former Activision president Mike Ybarra, Activision Blizzard president Mike Ybarra posted on Twitter that he thinks Battlefield 6 will boot some Call of Duty this year and that will push the COD series to stop being lazy. And the full post goes on to read that Battlefield will boot stomp COD this year, but the real win here is that COD won't be lazy anymore and we'll all get better FPS games for it. He elaborated on his thoughts in response to another X user writing that COD has gone downhill for years since then. It's a mess, cheating, heavy UI, install, rainbow colors. People are sick of it. Luckily, Battlefield will force them to change it. And Ybarra even touched on the recent spree of layoffs at Microsoft and the company that owns Activision Blizzard. And as such, the developers behind Call of Duty series, Ybarra stated that COD will get better because Battlefield will be great. You're blind if you don't see that. Bitter? No. Glad I'm not part of the end of Xbox. Upset that they can't lead teams to make good games? Yes. This man is upset because they lay off all those people for leadership mishaps. Which is crazy too because Microsoft is not doing bad at all. But them going off to lay off 9,000 people was insane. But since his departure from Activision Blizzard ahead of the Microsoft Activision acquisition, Ybarra has since become CEO of Prize Picks. This sports betting company is notable through a gaming lens as an early adopter of esports betting, which it started embracing back in 2019. And it certainly seems like Ybarra's chips are on Battlefield this year. Call of Duty is still no slouch in terms of sales, though positive sentiment has certainly taken a dip in recent years with complaints piling up, such as a distaste for certain cosmetics. I'm pretty sure no matter what, Call of Duty will still sell well initially now. No franchise is too big to fail, but I think it's still too early to be like Call of Duty may not sell well, just because even though a lot of people are upset at Call of Duty, a lot of people may not feel the best of Call of Duty. Gamers have shown us with time and time again the data to prove it that even though they hate a game, even though they dislike something, even if they're online bashing it, they're still gonna buy it. They are still gonna spend money on the things that they hate and expect things to change. It is truly unfortunate. So like the Switch 2, for example, most people saying drop the price, $500 is too expensive. It became one of the fastest selling consoles of all time when it first fully launched. So we'll have to wait and see. We will wait and see if this game sells well or not, how Battlefield does, if Call of Duty will respond to Battlefield's success, and if Battlefield doesn't have issues when it fully launches. We just gotta wait and see. But that's gonna wrap up our gaming news for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed that segment as much as I did. Now we're going to be going on to the Demon Souls remake, playing through that. Just trying to get further in the game. Let me actually switch things over. But in case anybody also missed the mental health discussion earlier, it was just mainly dealing with the concept of escapism in video games. Just in a slightly more positive light, just because most people who are talking about escapism in video games will almost always bring up the topic of addiction and just different things of that nature, all the negative connotations regarding it, but never really touch on any of the positives. So I just wanted to talk about some of that. Not dismissing the negative aspects of it and how, you know, how serious video game addiction is and can be, but also just talking a little bit more about how some people use it kind of like as a way to distress or get lost in something the same way they would with a book or movie, and just the different things you can take away from it. I think simulators were like a great example of that. Most people are not wondering like why so many people play job simulators and things of that nature, when it could be a nice way to like do a job or do something without having to deal with all the negative aspects of it. Bring on Sword Art. We need the full dive nerve gear, and if I can log out, it's not right. Let me start charging my phone a little bit here. Make sure this source is on. Okay. And let me turn off this music. All right. Make sure I change the category.
You guys weren't here, but I did end up finding a boss that I know I was not supposed to be yet. For instance, like drawing out what happened. I walked up. There's this giant like door right here, right? Picture this is a door. We'll just put like a little handle right there for good measure. And there's this dude guarding it. He's like standing right here, right? Had a giant shield and like a sword. I can't draw, but like picture that's a sword, right? And it's just him standing in front of the door. And so we beat him. Got through the door, opened it. There's just a dude standing here, which is clearly a king of some kind. Let me actually redraw this. It's clearly a king of some kind, right? We'll draw his crown. He's sitting here with a giant sword. We'll draw the hilt. A giant sword. Aura is just radiating off this man. And he's so nice and polite. He's like, oh, you know, do you want to come fight me? Do you want to prove your honor? Like, prove your worth? And so I went up to him. Walked up to him. Was getting ready to fight him. He just one taps me immediately. I couldn't do anything. That's how I knew I wasn't supposed to be there yet. So yeah, I think we'll end up coming back to him like a few levels later. I have to go to some other worlds. We can't progress in that world anyway because we have to go back and slay an archdemon. Let me see here. Where do I want to go next? Let's go to prison. Welcome to the danger zone. Oh no. I should have probably repaired my gear before coming here. Yeah, how did you die? All right, so there's something waiting around the corner, I guess. So dark. Look for a key. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is literally just a... How did he die? Couple games for you to check out. Mandragora, Netherworld Covenant. Oh, what type of games are they, Rage? Are these guys nice? I want to open the door, but I feel like they'll follow me if I also open the door. Did he make the same mistake? Oh! Oh! I assume these people are in here for a reason, so what? There's something in here killing these people and I don't know what or who it is. Welcome to the dump. What is that? Is that a mind flayer? It is. Souls like Metrovania and the Souls like... Oh! Oh yeah, you gotta die. Hey, what is that? Yo, I'm sorry. Am I fighting pain? Y'all have mind flayers in this prison? Oh Lord. So I was gonna pull open that item. He was gonna be waiting right there and he's gonna eat my brains. Prison of Hope. There's gotta be something in this room, right? I've been item ganked so many times in this game. Ooh, it feels uncharacteristic that I'm not getting jumped here. Oh, no, no. Don't do this. Well. You know, I didn't want to be the person judging somebody behind the cell door. I believe everybody should get a fair shot. But I guess they're locked up for a reason. All my friends are playing rage-inducing games. Funnily enough, I normally don't get upset playing Souls games. Normally the games that upset everybody else are the games that kind of calm me, crazily enough. I guess the calming state of mind for me is just being in the middle of chaos. You saw how he tried to run after swinging on me? You saw that, right? You, Dark Souls, Cesar, Cuphead, Peb speak. Oh, Lord. I actually got to see Pebs play Peak. I don't think I've seen her play Peak yet. On a 112-hour goon is insane. You're going to have to go to the hospital soon with those numbers, though. I just want a Mind Flayer. Dang, they just got a blanket and some wood, huh? Oh no. This jail might not be so bad. Besides the Mind Flayer, they got a place to sleep, a roof over their head. That's more than some people have in this economy. You asking me, the people locked up here sound ungrateful. And they gotta be feeding them something to keep them alive. They may not be getting the most fed, but can't eat brains if you don't have anybody's brains to consume, am I right? That was scary though. A Mind Flayer with magic. Housekeeping. Housekeeping. They even have a chair in this one. I think they call these the stimulation spikes, so you don't get too antsy sitting down all day. I'm checking every door to make sure I don't miss anything because a lot of these games have secrets. Okay, I was seeing if we could chop him down. I have no idea what to expect from a level like this. Like, it feels claustrophobic. It feels like somebody's gonna come around this corner and just grab me. Oh, hey. Would you like what he had, sir? Oh, hey, yo, he has a shank. This remake looks gorgeous, by the way. Like, I really do like the way it looks. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to play it. Jesus, who did this to you? Won't let that happen to me, though. Give me that. I should have upgraded my weapons before coming here. I don't know what these do, but I have to get rid of them. I'm just assuming. Oh. No, not enough. Look at the way he's running at me. Stay back. No, he's gonna eat my brains. No, let me go. No. It was all a ruse. I don't have any brains. Oh my god. Man, it's tried to hungrily devour me. Time for piercing? I'd imagine. Some friendly? Don't make me do this.
I think he's just. Excuse me, sir. I'm trying to get past you. Okay, let's give him some space. Let's give him some room, right? Oh, I thought you were one of the good ones. Take a step forward. I won't be doing that. I would definitely not be doing that. You're free now. You would think these people would be a lot more grateful to be free, but they've probably experienced so many horrifying and traumatizing things. Let me just help you out. Put them out of their misery. I know I wouldn't want to be stuck in a place like this. There's another one of them right around that corner. I'm sorry. Jesus. So far, not a bad place to be. I spoke too soon. You guys are going after the mind flayer, right? The one who imprisoned you? No? Where's your friend? He's just throwing stuff at me. See? I'm here to help. I think he's all right now. It is kind of weird how often they follow you, though. Is it like a range thing? They follow you until they get upset, and then if you are still by them, they attack you? That's what this looks like. That's exactly what this seems like. I just kind of wanted to know how the AI worked. If all of them were hostile, if any of them were nice. Why are there mind flayers in this jail? Look to the front. Well, I'm not giving this one a chance to betray me. Oh, you have spears. Okay. I don't know why they were just doing that. Maybe the mind flayers is like casting some sort of thing that makes them all think that everybody's a mind flayer here. Maybe they thought I was one. Maybe they think I'm a ghost with how I look currently. You are a mind flayer is crazy. Be a wild twist. We just charm so we can't see your true form. Alright, I just saw him go down there. It didn't look like there was a spot for him to drop. I think we might have to though. I just don't want to fight those mind flayers again. Alright, so I've been here before. Yeah, we definitely have. Okay. All right. If we come back to that spot and there's a blood stain there, we know the drop is no good, but we might have to try it. It might just be one of those levels. Ooh, what's in here? I haven't been here yet. Try again is crazy. Funnily enough, I'm not even scared of the mind flayers themselves. It's just the way they move. The way they start sprinting at you. So then how do we... I'm just gonna check this out one more time.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yo, Shaggy, thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it, bro. How you doing? Hope you've been doing well. Get you a shout out here going. I'm just remembering to do shout outs, so I'm gonna start giving everybody shout outs. Been decent. I had to do like a couple cybersecurity exams, so that's where I was at during like my streaming hiatus and everything. Just been trying to get everything in order so I can get into cybersecurity and IT. Oh, is it not gonna work? Oh wait, did I add it as a source here? Let me refresh this. Huh. That's crazy. I'm gonna try it one more time. Oh wait, you know what? It might be because of how I have it set. Let me try Morty's real quick.
Yeah, boy.
That's what it is, okay. Oh god, this is when y'all switch down that person, isn't it?
I popped one of their ass. I didn't kill him, though.
Suspect got to security.
Oh, he got up.
Suspect
Oh,
secured.
okay.
Pick up.
The mag dump is crazy. The mag dump is crazy. I don't mind, as you should. As you should. Ready or not, I'm the worst cop to run into. Give me a reason. What did Conquest say? I'm not here to save you. I'm not here to spread the goodwill of the Belgian. Shouldn't have reached. Oh Lord. Okay, so we're gonna, and I can't destroy this either. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go around to that spot where you gotta drop off then. If I die, it's not like I'll lose much anyway. I really don't have that many souls on me or anything important. I'll just have to fight the mind flayers again. All right, let's try to do this strategically, right? Let's aim for the gargoyle. I knew it. I knew it. They didn't even give me the courtesy of like waiting a second before it was a death screen. They said, nah, you're gone, buddy. You're done. You're done. Ooh, nice. 49. Wait, so you still have all those other monitors rated and you just added another 49-inch? Or you kind of like replace one of them with the 49-inch? They said you really thought... I thought it was safe. I thought I was good to go. Oh, God. All the doors are open now. And that mind flare... Okay, so we have to run the fade with him immediately. Ah! Please. That could have been bad. If there's anything I learned since playing Resident Evil in this game is that eating grass is healthy for you. It is down so it's not playing to my monitor. They thought I couldn't do it again. They thought they were all about to jump me. No. Place the 32-inch one you have for the work on the side with the ultra wide. Okay. That's what they do. I wish more games would just integrate ultra wide support. I do understand it's kind of a niche point of the player base, but once I start seeing like bigger companies not doing it, like Capcom doesn't do it for some of their games, and other games also don't do it as well, I get kind of sad. Like, I don't think Monster Hunter did it as well. Well, that's still Capcom, right? Sorry, I can't have y'all coming back later and stabbing me in the back. He does it anyway. No, he's gonna get another taste. Oh, Lord. I am not for consumption. No. No. Okay. Isometric games benefit from a lot. Yeah. You game on a giant 55-inch curve wide, so you have your own views on the monitor choice. I'd imagine. Jesus. Is that the biggest one you have? 55 monitor. Isn't that just a TV at that point? Oh my God. Sorry, we got Sir Shanks a lot over here. The Mind Flayer is the biggest threat, so I just gotta beat him real quick. Actually, I might not even need to. I can deal with y'all first. Come closer, please. Just come around this corner. Just come around this corner. No? Please? Thank you. Ow. He's spamming. Ooh, magic pixel. We used to run 3 identical 24-inch monitors. You set your AMD Infinity to merge them all into one ultra wide monitor. You can see for days in Diablo 3. Jesus. I'd imagine there's not an enemy that would sneak up on you in that game like ever. Thought you see myself. I've seen your setup before, Rage. I was just trying to figure out how you threw the whole how you added the other one in there. So I wasn't sure if the 55-inch one was the biggest one, or if you like had done anything else in that time since the other monitor you added. But I got you. I got you. Have to run through this hallway and fight beasts with tentacles. It's like the worst spot in prison to be. I think it was through this door, right? No, there's something over here though. Here's the other pathway. Oh, this is the wrong sword. Oh! Oh! All right, it's just you and me now. There's no need for the magic. That's right. I just want to throw this at him to be annoying. And then he's gonna spit the green stuff, right? All right, the biggest threat has been taken down. Ugh, he's so slimy. Sorry. That was mean. Give me my souls back. Sorry, I can't take any chances. I hope you understand. Oh, there's another mind flayer? I don't remember there being 3. Oh. Jesus, man. Giant L-shaped desk, so personal on work side. Now there's a 49 ultra wide sitting on both sides. Personal side, the 55-inch sits above the ultra wide on work. Jesus. You go around the corner on that one, calling foul. Look, you know, the Souls games have hold so many people over the years. It's nice for them having it happen to them for once. I'm absolutely gonna be abusing the AI every chance I get. And the AI will be abusing me every chance they get. Only thing is I gotta stop hitting these walls, otherwise this what's the word for it? The durability on his weapon is not gonna last. I don't know why the ad notification actually scared me. Pull myself away. All right, so obviously this is death. Max the personal reviews in the rise of robotics in the sex industry. Oh Lord. Nah, this isn't one of those hidden walls. I'm overthinking it. Imagine. All my homies hate clinkers. What I'm unsure of is where the game wants me to progress, because obviously there's something, a pathway that's got to be somewhere nearby. And at first I would have thought it's one of these doors, especially after killing the mind flayers. But it's not, but there's got to be some way to get to a floor above me or below me. Another key. So I'm assuming there's got to be another door somewhere since they're giving me another key. Because like me and this guy are both being fat shamed, body shamed by this object here. We can't just go across. See, I could make this jump in real life, but of course the game is asking us to do something specific. So it must be another door I gotta find somewhere, because I've gotten 2 pairs of keys now. And at first I would have thought the whole thing was to drop down, but nah, it's got to be like in one of these compartments. Yeah, one of these cells has to have a door, is what my immediate thought process is. Because if we're not supposed to drop down, if none of these cells have like a hidden passageway, then I wouldn't exactly know what the game wants us to do there. Because I really thought like it would have had us drop down, but this is instant death. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything over here. Yeah, they didn't even give me like a second to even see how long, what was underneath me when I was falling. Well, yeah, no, this just leads to another cell anyway. I'm just walking through everything, making sure I didn't miss anything. I keep thinking it's gonna be for one of these doors, and it's not. I'm just rolling through everything as well. I'm assuming we're gonna be running a lot into poison. The doors look too good. They're meant to be open, right? They textured the doors properly. They've got to be important. And that guy sounds like he's right above me. Like, case in point, I'm still finding enemies and people I haven't fought or killed, so... Sounds like a ghost, almost. And the calls are getting more and more frequent. Nope. Nope. Oh, this is where we started. Is there anything I missed in one of these rooms? Oh, his body has ragdoll physics. That's funny. All right, so they said look for a key. Now we have a key. Okay, there we go. We have to come all the way back to the start. Forget these games, love backtracking. Fog. Well, we might as well rest anyway, since we're right here. Let me see if I can upgrade my weapon at all, actually. Need to go back to the Nexus real quick. So we'll come back to the Prison of Hope after upgrading our weapons, if we can. Oh, hey, she's sitting up here? That's cool. I guess she really doesn't have much to do besides just sit there and wait for me to come back.
I can forge weapons for you.
Let me repair my equipment first. How much would they charge me to upgrade this? I don't have the required materials. Oh, I only have three and I need 6. Okay. So if we upgrade the spike shield. How much heavier is it? So it blocks more, but what's this? The durability is less? And it's a lighter shield. Oh, I don't have stats for it. What does it require? Okay. So I'll come back to this one. Ooh, what about the hoplite shield? Oh no. Okay, so yeah, I gotta do some grinding if I want some better shields. That's funny. Back to jail we go. Let me just send this message. All right, so we're immediately gonna go down here because I don't want to fight the mind flayer again. Get my brain sucked out of my skull. Another one of these guys. They just have them out and about, huh? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Iron Maidens? They call this a prison of hope. It's just a prison of despair and torture. I don't know why I believed it. It's reminded me of those TikToks where they're like, welcome to a Jet 2 holiday. Oh, oh, oh. So you want to shake somebody, huh? I got something for you. Yeah, yeah. I should upgrade this. I keep telling myself I should upgrade it and I just haven't. Didn't get to play any games this weekend and kind of just want to hold up, work, and play Mafia the Old Country till you fall asleep. I feel that. That'd be me. Oh. Sorry. No survivors. How you been liking it so far, Rage? Have you been enjoying it? Oh, oh, oh. I wasn't supposed to free you. Sorry, I need the souls. I hear something slimy in the distance. Gotta be one of those mind flayers again, right? I hope one of them just doesn't come out and ambush us. Thanks for reading. Nice. So no, I really enjoyed the story of Mafia 3, but not so much the gameplay. But Mafia 2 and 1 I really enjoyed as well. Oh. Stay right behind that door, sir. Ow. Guess everybody gets one, right? Go Mob Frag, clicked on your channel because I was curious about your name and this dope space you have here. Thank you so much, Swashi. Go Mob, go Mob. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you for popping in. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's trying to do something different here. You know, a lot of people have negativity on their platforms and different spaces. I try to speak more about, ooh, dying, I guess. More about mental health and positivity and things, while not ignoring the negativity, because obviously you can't be, what's the word for it, toxically positive. Just trying to give just much more of a space to talk about mental health in a way that isn't taboo, and just video games and stuff in general. We actually have another brother in the bond here by the name of Boom Pow Surprise. I don't know if you run into him or see him and I talking earlier, but he's also another Sigma I was fortunate enough to meet. Sorry, I didn't know these things were full. Oh Lord. First thing I ran into on here. Oh, nice. I think you would be the third I've met. I haven't seen too many other brother streamer. As far as like, you know, Twitch goes, of course. Kind of interesting. Some people put it in their bio, some people don't. I obviously don't want to be mixing it up with that thing anytime soon. I still don't have a key. There's so many people in that cell. I don't want to deal with all of them. I know I'm gonna have to. I don't want to deal with all of them. But yeah, right now we're doing a playthrough of the Demon Souls remake, and we're gonna be doing Bloodborne right after this. But normally I play a lot of other games too. Like I play Tekken, I play Street Fighter, I play a bunch of different fighting games, but I also play shooters like the Finals. I do play some Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield. Really, there's a lot of different games that come out, and I do play pretty much everything. I just don't always stream it. It's been mad fun doing a playthrough of this though, because I always wanted to do like the playthrough of the remake. It's one of the reasons I actually did go through with buying the PS5. Oh, that's what he meant. That's what he poisoned me? Ow. That is crazy. Okay, so we're definitely gonna need this in here. I didn't think we were gonna need that so soon. Nah, I get it. They're definitely not for everybody. Sometimes they're not for me. Like, there's some Souls games that come out that I'm not really the biggest fan of and I don't really play. Well, like, the good ones that are, like, really great entry ones are Sekiro, Elden Ring. I think Wolchang was also good, too, because that's a multiplayer one. Okay, so... we're gonna have to... is there a sprint jump mechanic in this game? I can't remember. No, I don't think there is. I think we just have to take the plunge. Wait, I know. Wait, no, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. So remember, we just got some keys. We did just get some keys, so there is another room we can go through. But I also recognize that, like, while it's not just a challenge, some of them don't have the best quality of life features. Like, for instance, some of them have you doing quite a lot of backtracking. Some bosses are just straight up, like, bullshit that you have to deal with constantly. Sometimes you'll be hitting a boss and the physics won't register and the hitboxes won't register properly, so you'll be hitting a boss and see your sword clip through a person. Some of them can be really bad. Bloodborne is the first one you played and you suck at that one. To be honest, that's one of the harder ones, so I get it. All right, let's just get everybody into an open area so we can cleave through the crowd. Are they all body block? If they're all body block, that's even better. They are. Just started playing Bloodborne immersive. Yeah, Bloodborne is like, it's considered one of the holy grails of Souls games just because it was only ported to PS4. Well, only on PS4 if I remember correctly. And that's only the only ways you can experience it, unless of course you have a PS5. And for some reason, as great as that game did, we just never got a 2. Obviously, From Software went on to make Elden Ring and everything else like that. But they also don't own the rights to Bloodborne, I found out not too long ago. That's why that's one of the reasons why we haven't gotten a Bloodborne 2. And that's why a lot of people are thinking that Dust Bloods, the Souls game that's going to be on the Switch 2, a lot of people are hoping that's going to be Bloodborne 2, but I'm not sure. Yeah, not to mention we had to get people to make a fan-made port of Bloodborne on PC, and while it has been getting a lot of different progress, like through an emulator, obviously it's not the original, so it's like not performing as best. I remember one a PS5 Digital Slim and brought Bloodborne, hoping to play it on an emulator, but the PS4 emulation still isn't good enough. Really? Yeah, I think what you still have to use a PS4 Pro in order to get it running natively at 60 FPS. It's really weird. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the whole reason I went in here. Let me see if there's anything of note. But yeah, besides that, the games I think I prefer playing the most of, whoops, didn't mean to lean into the mic there, are like RPGs. Just because of the amount of different choice and creativity that comes with a lot of different RPGs. Like, even with Cyberpunk, it still has some different things you can do in there. Of course, you had the Mass Effect trilogy, you had Dragon Age. Mainly, I'm talking about Origins and even 2. What else? Inquisition has some decent choices. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Maybe I shouldn't be opening these because the last time I opened one of these, I got stabbed. Huge JRPG fan. What would you say is your favorite? I'm assuming you touched like, you know, Final Fantasy and stuff like that. I know some people really like Xenoblade Chronicles. Oh wait, this is me going backwards. Like, I had a good time with some of those as well. I think the Persona series has like had me in a chokehold for a hot minute though. Especially 3. I think 3 is my favorite Persona game. Then you have the Shin Megami Tensei series. And I think Expedition 33 is going to hit that spot for a lot of different people as well. Primarily because there aren't a lot of great turn-based strategy RPGs like that nowadays. They don't come from Japanese developers. That was made by a team of old Ubisoft developers. Chrono Trigger, Certified Hood Classic. Persona 5 is the first one you played and it ranks high on your list. Yeah, I'd recommend checking out 3 if you like 5. They've kind of got similar tones. But every Persona game typically is different story-wise. But from a gameplay standpoint, you will be like going through fighting, what's the word for it? Different enemies. And dealing with different concepts. I think 3 has a mature rating just because they thought it had themes dealing with suicide, because primarily to use the powers in that game, you have to put a gun up to your head and shoot yourself. Keep hearing that as a Phantasy Star fan. Need to try out Shin Megami Tensei. That's about right. That's about right. The Shin Megami Tensei series is a lot closer to Phantasy Star than the Persona series is. Because a lot more of the fantastical elements you'll catch in Shin Megami Tensei and a lot of the darker tones and atmospheres are a lot more similar to what you would catch in Final Fantasy Star Online, whoops, than you would be in Persona. Because Persona is much more like being in an anime where you go to high school by day and something happens at night to where you have to fight some monsters or go in a Tower of Tartarus or go around fighting different things. I believe in Persona 4, people were getting kidnapped and absorbed into TVs and dying. Persona 3, you're dealing with Tartarus where you're going in a dungeon where shadows appear and they're coming out of Tartarus, so you have to be those people that gonna go in at night and fight different monsters and save people. Persona 5, I think, is all about unmasking shadows and defeating them that way. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't actually played 5, but I'm familiar with some of the themes. But each one has a deeper theme surrounding the idea of the monsters and the characters in there, which is one of the great reasons behind the stories and stuff too. It's like what I say with horror movies, where a lot of different horror movies and just movies in general have different central themes that the artist or director is dealing with, which they kind of inject into the movie itself. Only Phantasy Star you played was the online one back on the GameCube. 2 was fire. 2 was fire. The one that Sega struggled to bring to the US for a hot minute, but it got so bad, what people started to do was they translated the Japanese version and brought it over to the US. So a lot of people were playing on the English patch, and just what happened is after every big update, congratulations on being Second Nightmares, I suppose. What people started doing was they started patching the updates as they came out and translating them over to English so they could play the Japanese version in English. And there was a giant server meant for a lot of English players to hop on. I think it was shipped too. Played that for a hot minute. Phantasy Star Online 2 was fire. And then Sega came out with New Genesis that wasn't as good, but it's still somewhat decent. This is basically all your Fantasy Star experience, Fantasy Star 1 and 2. Yeah, I think I remember playing the one back on the 360 where you had to pay a subscription to play. I never paid the subscription. I always would play the demo, get to a certain spot, and then stop. Because that was back before I had a job, and I definitely was not going to convince my parents to spend more money on video games than necessary. Oh, the ones well before. Yeah. I know there were ones before that. That was just my experience. Yeah. Sega Master System and the Genesis. Yeah.
You're still intact, aren't you? Where do you call home?
What happened to her face?
Dear me, I shouldn't pry. Oh, perhaps you'd like
I'm sorry, that was rude.
my collection. I've known better days. I was once the wife of nobility, and I have some nice things to show for it.
What they do to her, man? Well, I'm not using any, what's the word for it? Magic, so. I will take all the poison counteracting, though. I'll take like 4 of these. Just in case I get so lost I don't know where to go. Oh, she has a rapier. I might take this for when I get into moments where... What's the word for it? Where I don't know where to be.
Before, there were many others trapped here, but they were driven mad and ventured above of their own volition. Redemption. There exists no such thing. The Queen banished that depraved old man from the land.
So who's running the prison?
Strange golden garb with foul demons in tow.
Oh.
They pillaged great Latria, land of the learned, and shut us away in this prison. Since then, they've been feeding off our souls, telling us over and over that if we go above, we will be granted redemption.
That wasn't happening.
Truth. The church goddess may die, but never for long. We are trapped below forever. Telling us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sometimes what happens is when you talk to these NPCs in these Soulsborne games, just for people who don't normally play them, they'll end up giving you things in exchange, or just giving you some insights to the lore and stuff like that. Some people will give you items. Some of them might give you a tidbit or a tip. So I always try to like exhaust all of the dialogue. Oh, I'm going backwards again. Oh, Lord. This prison is huge. One thing I've always liked about these games is that they do scale pretty nicely. Like if you're looking at the Elden Tree and Elden Ring, or just fighting different bosses and humongous people and beings, it's always like a nice sense of how big the world itself is. Just how much is going on. Because a lot of them try to paint the picture, like some people might take it as you don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But you're really one of the only people in this verse making moves for real. Beware enemies ahead. Okay, so that means do not open these. But I want to see how to get what's up here. Thinking Elden Ring that got really old for you is boss fight after boss fight where you're just hacking away at ankles. Yeah, definitely ain't the best in some of their boss designs. Like after the first or second or third one, it's kind of like, all right, can I fight somebody my size for once? Where is that guy who's begging for help? I'm gonna check and make sure I've seen everything on this floor before I go down again. Actually, no, I know I have. He must be somewhere on the 3rd floor, like somewhere in between the 3rd and 4th floor. I need to clear these levels out. I'm lost. And we all send you to a boss to let you cheat to make you fight Millennia. The thing I didn't know about her is apparently she's an optional boss. Oh, did somebody want me dead? Okay, so now his body's just glowing. Killed her 40 times by now. She didn't heal by looking at you sideways. Yeah. What is it? That's how that guy Let Me Solo Her got so infamous, because he just kept killing her over and over again, popping in to let people summon him. Oh, this must be the guy who's asking for help. Okay, so... Oh, he's on the other side. So we gotta find another key. Ah, so if you beat her, you get a different ending? Is that what happens? I think the Frenzy Flame ending is like one of the more popular ones too. That one and the one where you end up with Ranny. Just because so many people like her design. And thought she was a cool character. I'm gonna open these. Just in case. It doesn't help there's like a big sound notification too when you open these. Ring of Magical Sharpness, cool. Oh, did I open all these? I think I did. This must be the enemy then. I knew it. Jesus. He's the only one not with the rest. I should have known. Should have trusted my instincts. I guess what I'll do is I'll go down and start exploring some more of these other areas, because that means there's a pair of keys I missed. Was this a shortcut? I shouldn't have opened this so early. I think there's a mind flayer right around the corner, yeah? Oh, no. Oh, hey. Okay, so I think we're going down to the first floor then. That's fog, okay. Should have been Millennia's friend. Yeah, or at the very least give you an option. That'd have been pretty cool if they cared more about the story elements. Because I was definitely sliding for Radon. Okay, yeah, so they wanted me to have the keys then. All right. It's a lot of locked doors. I get it to jail, but geez. But yeah, that's one thing I wish the Soulsborne games, or like games that copy them, would do. Give you like an actual story-based experience with these two. Don't just have it be lore given to you through the characters and other things. Because imagine a game with the combat like a Soulsborne game, or like Elden Ring, like Sekiro, but then where your choices actually, that hurts. All right, all right, all right. Ooh-wee. This is why they gave me a crossbow, I see. Right this way, sir. He always does that afterwards. Why did I fall for it? He stunned me twice just to make sure I wasn't going anywhere. Ooh, he got greedy though. That man was hungry. Have the other part of the needle, let's fix it. Your Scarlet Rot, then we can go save your bro where he is and we can fight the Erdtree. Yeah, like that would have been dope. That would have been dope. I like stuff like that that let you do different things than what you might have thought possible. I think that's why I like Baldur's Gate 3 so much. Because there's so many choices and different decisions you can make that normally other games wouldn't allow you to. But you just can. And just because someone's important... Oh, hey. Are you friendly? I'm hoping. Okay, so obviously they don't want us going this way. Okay. Let me see if I can find a key. So there's a bunch of different people in here who are just trapped. Miquella, who wanted to use a Hallig tree as a sanctuary for all the misfits and lands between. Yeah. It's like, for every Souls game, you have an area or a region, a land that's either in its current downfall, it's like on a downward spiral, or it's way past its golden age, right? But we're never given the option to kind of like save it from that downward spiral, or what's the word for it? Usher in a new age as everything is happening. Like for instance, imagine if we would have gotten a chance to make a difference as all this was happening in Elden Ring. Like, what if we had a chance to intervene in the fight between Malenia and Radahn, or mediate in some way, shape, or form, or just do something different like that? Yeah, like have it to where we're the difference that makes it so that the universe isn't a horrible place to be in. Or be the very thing that corrupts it and causes everything to happen. Like maybe if you're unsuccessful, then Radahn gets the Scarlet Rot from fighting Malenia, and then not only does Malenia's Scarlet Rot gets worse, but she becomes a blight in the land, and it starts spreading past Caelid. It just would have been an interesting concept. I'm not saying every Soulsborne game has to be that deep in the lore and in depth, because that's kind of what gives them their charm. You're in the land where it's past its greatest hits, where everybody's past their golden age, everyone's past their prime. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. All right, all right, all right. Okay. That appears to have the same magic and abilities that Mind Flayers do. I don't feel like dealing with that right now. I don't think my mind can like comprehend what I'm looking at. Just gonna put ourselves in one of these cells. Oh, okay. Just one of y'all. Nothing to worry about. Storytelling is told through the environment. A lot of people really defend the way the story is told, and yet the sanctuary for people with no legs is teleported to the top of the giant tree, where people with no legs are supposed to climb down the tree and jump across the branches using their hands. Yeah. Definitely some like plot holes and other things in there, as well as like any other story. It's like, I respect that the way they go about telling stories is different, but I'll never be like the story is infallible or anything else like that. Like, nah, it definitely has some clear issues. Oh no, okay. So let me send this to storage then. Oh, maybe I actually needed that. But I respect how creatively open they are, especially when it comes to dealing with different things and interacting with certain people. I forgot what you're carrying can actually do that. I'm gonna save some more of this stuff to storage afterwards. I think it's also important to recognize that have something different for people who want a more, what's the word for it, linear experience. Because Souls games aren't for everybody, and they have a clear crowd they're meant for. But I do hope, like, similar to what they did with Armored Core and their other games in the past, if we might see something like that with a Soulsborne game with a much more linear story. Not linear, much more organized story. Like, what is that? I'm sorry, I'm kind of zoning out because I'm trying to make sense of what's in front of me. And before you ask, I'm absolutely going to attempt to cheese this enemy for sure. Funnily enough, even though like this is one of the starter ones, it's considered one of the easier Souls games to be in. I think because of reasons like these. I'm just gonna activate some fire. We're just gonna wait for him to spit again. I think once you get past the initial realization of how horrifying this is to look at, it's a lot easier to fight. Especially if you're cheesing like how I was. I hope that one doesn't come back. I don't want to see that again. Where do they have us going, man? The true Demon Soul starts here. Maybe the real Demon Souls are the ones the friends we met along the way. I thought this was a door. We're going back upstairs. I'm not trying to go back upstairs. I want more keys. It's a big area. Cutscene. Yeah, we're just gonna... I don't need that right now. Yeah, I'd say the remake is a one-to-one representation of the original game, so this would be one of the best ways to experience it. It's not gonna pull any punches, and I do think there's some quality of life changes, but for the most part, it is just Demon Souls with some better graphics. Which, to my understanding, I thought was what the community would want. But I'm not the targeted audience. I'm someone who hasn't played the original, so I wouldn't know how good or how bad the remake itself is. But from what people have been saying, it's a one-to-one remake of the original. I think we're gonna attempt to get through this area, see if we can get to another checkpoint, but kind of running short on time here. Look for item. I just know the amount of distance we're gonna have to go back if we die here. I'm not looking forward to it. You'll find a weapon past here? Oh, we will. Time for dying. Oh, is there no way back up? Wait, no, there is a vault mechanic. There is a vault mechanic. But, oh, there we go. I think somebody put that there. It'd be funny. Like, I don't know if the vault mechanic was already a thing, or if it's something they just had with the remake. But it's also something that doesn't reappear in some of the other games either. Which is kind of interesting to me. Okay, so we can't go past here. Of course, they're not gonna let us vault over the spikes. Ooh. All right, yeah, we're not getting past that. Apparently I don't have to press like the jump or sprint button to actually make that. I just have to walk into things. Oh, it's these guys again. So where do they want us to go? Nothing in there. They must treat these guys on the first floor so dirty because the cells are like small. Like they don't even have beds in here. This is bad. I guess they just expect you to sit here and die. Time for rolling. Oh, hey. Oof, almost died. I will say they do have a unique ecosystem here, like with the different messages and stuff like that. And that's always something I found interesting. But like you can interact with so many people, but at the same time you can't. Like you'll see their ghost running past and you'll see how a person dies, but it won't have co-op. Like that's something I wish they would have added with the remake too, if they added co-op or multiplayer. I think that's one of the reasons why Elden Ring Night Rain has still done so well, because so many people want to play games like these with their friends. And it's a lot easier to get someone into a game like this is if you're playing with each other than alone. Because then you have other people you can go through this type of thing with, and it's a lot more fun to get lost with somebody else than it is by yourself. Is there anything else down here that I missed? Nah. What about some keys? Nope. I keep wanting to drop down here, but I'm pretty sure I will die if I fall here. Is the gate? Nope. So they must want me to go through here then. We already went over here. Oh, okay. This isn't the time to get greedy, I see. Oh, I would have gone that way, but apparently we cannot. I think I'm too big to get in there. Oof, okay. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to figure this one out when we come back, because that's all the time I have to play today. Let me close that and edit this real quick. Thank you guys so much for showing up, hanging out, spending this time with me. It was really nice to see all you guys again. I do appreciate that. As per usual, we'll be back again Wednesday. More gaming news, more gameplay. Shaggy, thank you so much for the sub. Jay for popping in. Let me make sure I thank everybody properly if they'll let me scroll. Immersive for being here, just us going down memory lane, talk about some nostalgic things. Jay, appreciate that. Swashi, I hope I pronounced your name right. If I'm not, if I ever butcher anyone's name, please let me know. You definitely let me know. I hate mispronouncing people's names. Rage, T, I think Sprinkles popped in here earlier. Morty, as always. Love Me Harder, Tony, Fomar, Boom. Let me make sure I get everybody. I think that's everyone. I think I thanked Fomar as well. Nightmares, almost forgot Nightmares. Thank you. Anybody else who happens to be lurking, even if you guys only spent like 2 seconds in here, it really does mean a lot. I really do appreciate that. But yeah, in case you ever want to be part of the mental health discussions or just get an idea of some of the things we'll be talking about in here, it's every Monday. Happens towards the beginning of the stream. I try not to keep them preachy. I don't want to feel like I'm talking at you guys, but more so like having a discussion. Okay, cool. Thank you. Like I said, I hate butchering people's names. I always try hard not to. But we're going to be rating Pebs the Neko, who happens to be playing Peak. You guys can show her some love, and highly appreciate that, as she's just a wonderful person and embraces the chaos a lot and is a lot more high octane at times. But yeah, they're playing Peak. If you guys could show them some love, would highly appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, stick around for the intro. If you're on Twitch, for the intro, the outro. And if you're on Twitch, stick around for the raid. But that all being said, hope you guys have a wonderful day and a night. You're all wonderful people. Take care of yourself, drink some water, exercise, stretch, do what you can. Make sure you're taking care of yourself physically, if you need to, spiritually, and as well as mentally and emotionally. There's all different things that go on having great health. So, but yeah, we'll be catching you guys Wednesday, and of course Friday we'll be playing something different. So if you guys do happen to be Friday around the time I normally stream, if you want to play something, let me know. I'm always down to run games with my friends and other people. But yeah, I'll be seeing you guys Wednesday. Catch you guys later.